Hi, we are back on the couch, which means it's time for another Gideon the Ninth video. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about all the foreshadowing and what actually happens in Act 1. So, big thing that happens in Act 1 was we got our character introductions. And I talked about that the last time where we introduced Gideon. We got a whole bunch of information about her and who she is. But one of the other things we got in Act 1 is we essentially got told the ending. And so this is going to be a big spoiler, but let's talk about Act 1 of Gideon the Ninth. With spoilers. This is my third time saying with spoilers. So if you have not read this or don't want to be spoiled by it, click away now. I won't be upset. Okay, so we're going to be going through this with my notes, which I finally got my sticker, and the book, where I've highlighted and tabbed a bunch of stuff. So, if you notice, I haven't done Act 2 yet. Okay, I also got my other sticker, which I'm very happy about. I love it. And I've got a few others. Chapter 3 is where we really start to get some foreshadowing. So, lictors. Okay, so in this first chapter, we have learned this in this first act, because we're going to go back and forth a little bit here. This is where we go back and forth. So in chapter 8, we learn what a lictor is. But in chapter 3, we just get the letter talking about how they're going to be lictors. So I'm going to pull that letter up and I'm going to read it, because I think this is where we get, this was the foreshadowing that struck me the most. So this is the letter. Salutations to the House of the Ninth, and blessings upon its tombs and peaceful dead and manifold mysteries. His celestial kindliness, the first reborn, begs this house to honor its love for the Creator, a set in the contract of tenderness made on the day of the resurrection, and humbly asks for the first fruits of your household. We know from here that the Emperor Undying is the first reborn and the Creator. Okay, so this, do I want to do spoilers for what we learn in Nona? Okay, spoiler for Nona. So if you haven't read Nona, or Harrow, actually, spoiler for both of them. This is a spoiler for Harrow. So I'm gonna put a little thingy up here that says spoiler for Harrow, so I can put it in the timestamp so you can skip past it. I'll try to put a little timestamp here where I stop talking about it. So here's where we learn that the Emperor was the first necromancer. He's the one who the first to resurrect people. He is the resurrector, the first reborn, the Creator, the King Undying. He's been alive for 10,000 years. He was just a normal human. He is not a god, but he is worshipped as their god, because he is the first one to have figured out necromancy. So he is the Creator because he recreated life after the Earth was destroyed. And so he has created all of these planets through his necromantic ability. Okay, spoiler done for that. So then it says, for in need now are the Emperor's hands, the most blessed and beloved of the King Undying, the faithful and the everlasting. So the lictors are the hands of the Emperor, which implies they do his dirty work, basically, to me. The Emperor calls now for postulants to the position of lictor, heirs to the 8 stalwarts who have served these 10,000 years. So that he started out with 8 lictors, and he is now down to not as many because of other events that have happened. It says, as many of them now lie in waiting for the rivers to rise on the day they wake to their king. So there is this thing that's revealed, I believe, in Harrow. It's revealed in Harrow, so mild spoiler for Harrow here. In Harrow, it is revealed that they basically have a river Styx type situation where souls and the energy of a body goes to the river. So this is a reference to their bodies are their souls are waiting in the river on the day they wake to their king. So there's some stuff in Harrow with them being like finally laid to rest in different ways, and basically this is just spoilers for Harrow. I have to reread that to know exactly what it is, but there is a big thing in Harrow with the souls waiting in the river for the king, and then this comes into play in Nona as well. those lonely guard remaining petition for their numbers to be renewed. So the few remaining lictors are asking for more lictors. And their lord above lords to find 8 new liegemen. So this implies that the other remaining ones don't want to be lictors anymore. They're done. They don't want to serve. So to this end, we beg the first of your house and their cavalier to kneel in glory and attend the finest study, that of being the emperor's bones and joints, his fists and gestures. So again, the lictors become the acting parts of the emperor. 8, we hope, will meditate and ascend to the emperor in glory. In the temple of the first house, 8 new lictors joined with their cavaliers. Okay, here is where this is the foreshadowing. The way that it's written, 8 new lictors and their cavaliers together. But no, 8 new lictors joined with their cavaliers. What we learn in the end of the book is that to become a lictor, you have to join your physical body with the spirit of your cavalier. Joined with their cavaliers. That line specifically tells us the end of the book. It tells us that for Harrow to become a lictor, she needs to join with Gideon. And this is why it is so important for them to work together as we get farther through the book, because they're supposed to figure it out together. So they're supposed to be joined, and it's supposed to be consensual. Both are supposed to agree, because you won't be a strong lictor if your cavalier is in your body fighting you. So this comes majorly into play in the fact that we were told in this letter what they had to figure out. What we spend the rest of this book, with Harrow and Gideon trying to figure out. And if the Necro Lord Highest blesses but does not take, they shall return home in full honor with trump and timbrel. This is why it's supposed to be consensual. You're supposed to agree. So if you figure it out and choose not to do it, you don't have to. You just go back home. It's fine. There is no dutiful gift so perfect nor so lovely in his eyes. I want to go to a line where this is where Sister Glorica, who is Ortis's mother, she's from the 8th. And the 8th tends to have more knowledge of the darker aspects of these things. She says, she starts crying, and she's like, I gave you my husband, Lord Nonius Vianus. I gave you my spouse, Lord Nonius Vianus. Do you demand my son of me? Do you demand my son? Surely not now. So this is because her husband died with Nona's parent, or I keep calling her Nona, with Harrow's parents. She says, I know the things that befall cavaliers, my lord. I know his fate. She knows what will happen for Harrow to become a lictor and does not want Ortis to be part of that. But she's not going to say what it is. This is another thing, is for her to, like, yes, we set it up that he's babied and protected and overly mothered, but the fact that his mom is, like, losing her shit over this just adds extra to that. So this is one of the biggest setups. And then one of the other things that I want to mention that we get that I loved is, okay, Harrow tells Gideon she'll mix bone marrow in her breakfast and punch her way through her stomach, which is something she does to protect herself in Harrow the Ninth, which was really fucking funny to see that written here. That because yeah, so there's a small foreshadowing bit there that I found funny. Okay, yes, chapter 6. Okay, this is for the end of the book. This is a spoiler for the end of the book. So in chapter 6, as they're leaving, Harrow says, rest assured, wherever I go, my heart is interred here. It sounded like she really meant it. Because she fucking did. Harrow is in love with what lies inside the tomb. What lies inside the tomb is the body of a woman who we learn in the end of Nona who it is. And I'm not going to spoil that completely, but because we need to get there. So But Harrow is actually in love with the body in the tomb. So this is foreshadowing for this whole scene where, spoiler, I don't know why I'm saying spoiler. Okay, so I'm spoiling this whole fucking book, basically. There's this scene near the end of the book where Harrow and Gideon finally bond, and Harrow tells her what she saw when she opened the locked tomb. So Gideon knows that Harrow opened the locked tomb, and they constantly have these prayers of, may it never be opened, basically. That's not supposed to open it, and Harrow opened it, but Harrow should not have been able to open it. Okay, so actually, small spoiler for Harrow right now. Or for Nona. Am I going to? No, I'm not going to. I will do it when we get there. It has to do with Gideon's blood, basically. It has to do with Gideon's bloodline. Harrow should not have been able to open the tomb, but something to do with Gideon being there with her when she opened it allowed her to open it. And she fell in love with the body that was inside the tomb. Completely head over heels in love with this adult woman's body as she's like 10 years old. So she's infatuated with this person and then continues this infatuation. So when she says, my heart is interred here, it is, in the sense that she's in love with the woman in the tomb. So there's that. It's a very important thing. Very important. And yeah, very important. So chapter 7. Chapter 8 actually has couple of very interesting foreshadowing things. Am I still in 7? Chapter 7 actually does. Okay, so chapter 7, when we realize that the third is twins, and teacher says it's only trouble at the end of the line, and trouble confined to them, because only one of them can become lictor, because there is only one cavalier. They cannot both consume their cavalier. So there's this telling of like, it's a little foreshadowing thing. Okay, so my other thing in chapter 7 that I loved. So teacher tells Dulcinea, Duchess Septimus, he said in a tweedling old voice, and is it so advanced as all that? Yes, indeed. Oh, lady, he said, you should not have come. She gave a flashing, sudden smile, the edges of her teeth scarlet. But isn't it beautiful that I did? Because Dulcinea is not Dulcinea. Dulcinea her body has been taken over. And this is our first little, like, thing that to her, it's a beautiful thing that she did. This is why she's obsessed with the Ninth, is because she's not Dulcinea. And I'm not gonna reveal right now who she is, but this is our, like, first little foreshadowing hint of, like, sorry, my foot itches really bad. This is her first little foreshadowing hint of her not being who she says she is. Okay, so that was one of my, like, little favorite things. Like, I underlined that and I was like, oh, yes, it's Dulcinea. I love Dulcinea because this whole personality thing, it just works. Chapter 8, we again start to talk about what it means to be a lictor. We have the first little bit where, with the prayers being different, that I find very interesting, but I don't think that's necessarily important to what I'm talking about. Okay, so teacher said, this is not a pilgrimage where your safety is assured. You will undergo trials, possibly dangerous ones. You will work hard, you will suffer. I must speak candidly. You may even die. But I see no reason not to hope that I may behold 8 new lictors by the end of this, joined together with their cavaliers. He says it again. He reiterates, you will be joined together with your cavalier. There is no reason to not say together with their cavaliers. 8 new lictors joined with their cavaliers. Again, we are told in the beginning of this book what it means to be a lictor. It's a necromancer physically bonded, soul and mind, to their cavalier. Like, we have it explained to us what a lictor is. It's a necromancer who has consumed their cavalier. And the fact that we're told that in the beginning of this book, and I spent the whole book going, what does it mean to be a lictor? Like, what are the trials? How are they going to figure it out? And we have that from, like, the first trial where we have, because I've gotten into it. So here's a little bit of Act 2, right? So In the first trial, Harrow has to get into Gideon's brain, into her head, and look through Gideon's eyes to tell Gideon where to attack a construct to break it down in order. So this is the first of like using your two, like the two aspects of your cavalier and yourself together in one body. So this tells you a little bit about that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just in love with the fact that we were told the ending like in the beginning of the book, in the first act. So that's the major foreshadowing events. I'm going to be working on Act 2. I've already listened to it. I just need to physically read it. It's just been a crazy time. Lots of meetings in my life. The life of a biologist means of a salmon biologist right before salmon season. Yay. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Let me know what I missed that you want to talk about in here, because I'm happy to talk about other things. Some of this, I have these like little needling things of like, okay, there was something about that in Nona, there was something about that in Harrow, but I don't have them fully remembered in my head at the moment. So once we get to Harrow and Nona, I will be talking about those. So if you think I missed those, let me know so that I remember for later, but I'm sure we'll get to them when we get to them. So thanks for sticking around with me, and I will see you soon with more Gideon and other things.